Hi everybody, Creative Katie, Karen Burchill here. Welcome to my channel. Today you can follow my lead. Pick your own colors, your own stencils, follow the steps that I go through, and you're sure to achieve art journaling success, or at least have fun during the process. So let's get started. Step one, you want to gesso your page. This primes the page, stabilizes it a little bit, and it also makes it possible to do certain techniques. I just find you use less paint, the paints blend easier, a necessary first step. So once that's dry, I'm going to start by adding some patterning on this. I have the Songs of the Sea texture stamps, and I just want to use my archival ink and get some marks on that page. Break that page. You just have to start. I'm using archival ink because it's permanent when dry, although once I do stamp it, I do bring on the heat tool and dry it quickly just to make sure that it doesn't smear. I'm not too picky at this stage. I'm just slapping it down and enjoying the process. And that's what I want you to do too. So now we are going to add some color. This is light blue permanent, and this is neon yellow. I want to go bold and bright, and I just thought neon. I have my focal image picked out, those giraffes that you saw, and I just thought they would look good with some really bright color in the background. But that's pretty much as far as I had an idea. So for a printable, if you can't find giraffes or something like that, find something that is black and white because we want to create this colorful neon-ish background, and the black and white printables really stand out on that. I'm adding a little bit more of the neon yellow. The neon colors tend to be very translucent. You can see right through them. So I'm coming back and adding more layers to get it to be brighter and more noticeable. Just adding paint as I go, and they're blending really easily because we took the time to gesso the page first. I just have a makeup sponge. Sometimes I put a little bit of water in the makeup sponge when I'm using the Liquitex Basics paint because it's a little thick. Just dampen the sponge. So there we have our basic colored background. Lots of interest already, but we are far from done. This is Mixed Media Creations. If you are a subscriber, thank you so much for joining me. If you're not, please hit that subscribe button, then click on the bell and select the option to be notified of upcoming videos. If you are a subscriber, you might want to click on that bell, unclick it, and then re-click it, just to be sure that that is continuing to work and notify you of when I upload new videos. So here's a close-up of the beautiful background. Lots of interest. That could be a background for anything. So here I am removing paint through this stencil. Now, this is possible because I gessoed it first and it was non-porous. Now, spoiler alert, I end up not really liking this. So I end up undoing it or fixing the mistake. But I left that in just in case you're more successful at it or you like what happens. So it's another technique you can do. And I'm just using a baby wipe and rubbing the paint off before it dries. You don't want this to sit for a long time because you will be unable to pull it up at that time. I grab this stencil. It's called Script Dots from the Crafter's Workshop. And I decide I want to do some stenciling on this. I want some round dots. And I thought this would go good with the focal image that I picked, with the dots or the spots that are on the giraffe. And I'm using, I believe it's called blue green or green blue from Amsterdam. You could use any turquoise, teal color here. You can even use Prussian blue. Love the look of that. Now, when I'm doing stenciling on a background, I am not attempting to make perfect stencils. I like going off the page, it seems to complete it, and I like going in 3 spots. Working in odd numbers typically works well. This page is 11 and a half or 8.5 by 11. It's the size of a copy paper, and it is mixed media paper, Artist Loft brand. I bought it last time. They didn't have my Canson mixed media, and to be honest, I prefer the Canson mixed media. Even though the weight they say is the same, I prefer the Canson mixed media one. So now we have a lot of interest, and I'm quite happy. So those where I removed the paint through the stencil, I'm just coming in with some of the blue and the neon yellow and just getting rid of that white area, basically. So don't ever worry about, oh, I don't like something. A coat of gesso, another application of paint, more stenciling, you can always hide or fix what you don't like. Now I want to add a complementary color. So I grab my color wheel, and across from those teals and greens is the reds and oranges. So I grab my, I believe it's alizarin crimson, actually cadmium red, and this screen view stencil. And again, I'm going to primarily focus on 3 areas. Although I do add a little bit of this, when you use complementary colors, they create a lot of energy off each other. You get that contrast and interest to the eyes. Could have gone with peach or coral here, but I tend to go to the peach coral route a little bit, so I wanted to do something a little different. In real life, the red is a lot more vibrant than what's on screen. So here are my giraffe heads, and I'm just arranging them where I think, replacing that stencil and extending it to get the right flow and feel. This is very intuitive. I just kind of put where I think it should be. And I'm just lining up the stencil and going. And again, my goal is not to get perfect stenciling, so I'm not overthinking it. I just want a little bit more motion and movement and interest in my background. You can see how the black and white focal image really works well with that colorful background. But we're not done with the background. More layers to come. I thought I'm going to add some white, and this is my Stampendous dot stamp. It's actually half of it. I've cut it in half, and I love putting dots on here. They go with the stencil dots that I have, goes with the dots or splotches on the giraffe. I want everything to work together. So every time I'm adding a layer, I'm pushing back what's behind it. When I was adding the white, I wanted to add some contrast in here. And while I'm liking the white, it isn't giving me the contrast I was hoping for. So in my mind, I'm going, I'm not quite done yet. So I grab my black and I am edging my page using the floating acrylic shading technique. I'm just going all the way around and bordering it. This just closes in the page, frames it, and typically when I'm unsure about what the next step is or I'm unsure if I'm done, I do this and it just helps me figure out what I want to do next. I even ended up turning the page here a little bit. And then I decided, I want a little more contrast. So I'm grabbing that same dot stamp. This time I'm stamping with black. So I've stamped with white and I've stamped with black. And the black just seems to give me the contrast that my brain was telling me I needed on this page. So we have an awful lot of stenciling and stamping in that background. Some is more forward, some is further back. They all add to the visual texture of this page. And I'm really liking how those black dots go well with the black splotches on the giraffes. Once I dry that, because I do dry it between every layer, I'm just gluing it all down with my fluid matte medium. I position them. I've gone back to the original orientation and I'm just gluing those down. It's smeared a little bit right here. Some of my black wasn't quite dry. I'm not a patient creator. And I grabbed a sentiment and it just says, forget 2 peas in a pod. We're more like nuts in a tree. I just kind of fun and funky page. Now I'm shading around my focal image. That's just going to make it stand out from the background. And I'm using again my angle brush, the floating acrylic technique, my shading technique, and black acrylic paint. I will link the video where I specifically teach that technique. It is one that's well worth your time to go watch and then practice the skill because you will use that on every mixed media project you do. So if you like this page, if you like my videos, give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment, let YouTube know that you appreciate this content. Share this with a creative friend. And by all means, give this a try. Pick the same colors I have, pick different colors, follow the steps, and have fun. And there we have it. Thank you so much for joining me. See you in the next video. Until then, go get creative.